Hello, help me welcome my mom, Linda Nettles. So happy to have you here with me today, Mama.
Well, thank you for having me here. Hello, everyone.
I know that you have just celebrated a really fun birthday, and I thought it would be a good way to commemorate this occasion by me interviewing you for my podcast and sharing a little bit of wisdom that you've gained along the way with the followers. So, you guys are in for a treat today. Let me just tell you. All right, so let's start with what would you say would be one of your favorite memories from your childhood?
I have to really think back because that's a long time ago. I'm blessed. I've had so many and lots of them. Wonderful things happening. Sad things, some along the way for sure. But lots of good things.
Yes. Would one of those favorite memories maybe include when your sister was born?
Most definitely. That was like my little baby doll, my very own, being born when I was 8 years old.
That's pretty special. I know that you guys are still really close, which I love seeing that. It's a good testimony to sisterhood. If you look back and you think on your childhood, is there anything that you can really say was a lot different than what kids experience these days?
Well, we had structure and we loved it. We thought no other way. I mean, there were rules. And they weren't necessarily labeled rules. It was just things we did because that was what you were supposed to be doing. And today it's too loose.
Okay.
Children love structure.
Okay. So you remember enjoying structure even as a kid?
Yeah, but we didn't know it was structure. We just thought this is what you do. This is the next thing you do. You didn't think about, this is, It was just how we did it.
You felt like your childhood was more disciplined than some are today?
I would just say that there was so much attention paid to us, I believe, years ago that lots of mothers didn't work, or if they did, they definitely knew what was going on with their children. My mother always had to work pretty much, but you just knew what was expected of you and what you were going to do, and we loved it because we all had it. So few did not have structure, and today it's the opposite. And I know children truly love structure the best.
This wisdom that you're sharing might have been something, I wonder if it also comes from your career, because tell us what you did for your career.
Well, I guess I'd say my first career was teaching.
Okay.
In the elementary age children, which I loved. And when I taught, it was just like a blessing. I mean, the children were so eager. Little first graders, 6 and 7 year olds, come in and they love the teacher and they love what you're saying or love what you're doing, and they listen. I mean, you got one or two that are off task, but it was just rewarding, and you could actually see them learning.
That is rewarding. I agree. Now, if you were to think back again into your childhood, like what would be something, if you could go back to being a kid for just a day, is there anything you would want to do again because it was just so much fun?
Well, I loved playing for sure, and I loved learning to ride my bike. When I was real little, I finally learned. Loved playing out in the yard, just simple things. Loved being at my grandparents, and loved when my little sister was born when I was 8. I love that part because I got to help watch out for her. My mother was really always watching out, but I always thought I was really helping a lot too.
And you really did, because I know your mom worked, so you did have a large part of helping with her.
Right, I did, and I never fussed about it. I just didn't even think about it. I'd just help her, Yeah. And our mother was right there with us if I should need her or if we should need her. Mm-hmm. She was a very good mama.
Yes, and a good grandmama too, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, so now how about if you were to think, to having when you were a young mom. Tell us how many kids you had, how close in age they are, all that fun stuff.
My own children?
Yes.
Okay, all I ever really wanted to do, of course, I wanted to have a nice husband, but I wanted to have children because I loved them. I wanted to love them so much. And I was married about 3.5 years. And I had my first one, Stephanie, who I could not wait for hardly, and chose that name from many years ago from a special movie star that I love named Stephanie Powers. And here was my Stephanie, and mine to love. Goodness, wow. And then 2 years later, I get Adrian, and oh my goodness, another precious baby doll. And she had a little trouble at first being born, and she was like trying to not breathe on us a little bit, but we got her fixed right up, thankfully, and she was fine after that. And then 2 years later, here come not supposed to have any more babies because of just me and maybe for some reason. But the doctor says, go ahead, have this baby. And it wound up being a little boy. And that just was icing on the cake. And that made me have 3 babies under 4 years old. And I loved every single minute. I remember fixing their lunch, fixing all this, I loved it. And I was fortunate. I got to stay home with my children when they were little. I loved every minute of it.
Mm-hmm. One thing you have in common with your mama is that you're a very good mama too. And now, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, now fast forward, and you have how many grandchildren?
I love this. Grandchildren is just like more children. 9 wonderful grandchildren, 7 girls and 2 boys, and 3 little great-grands. Precious, all delightful, just wonderful. 1 5-year-old grandson, 3-year-old grandson, and 3-year-old granddaughter.
Yep, it's a full house.
It just keeps adding all the wonderful memories and wonderful things.
Yep, for sure. Now, if you were to give some advice to a young mom today, because you're at this fun season where you get to look back and see all of the years and all of the growth in your family, the good stuff, the hard stuff, all of it. What is something that you would say to a young mom who maybe is just starting out? Maybe she's sitting at home today with 3 small babies, or 3 under 4 like you had. What would you tell her?
Remember, there's not anything much that's more important than taking care of those babies, and see that they have what they need and loving on them every single minute you've got, and be thankful if you get to stay home and with them rather than needing to work, or if you have to work a little bit and just catch up what you can. Never worry about the house. You want your house livable, but you know what? The children are going to grow up and go, and you can clean house all you want. The most important part is being totally involved in their little lives. Give them little responsibilities when they're little, just little tiny things like put the book back on the shelf, or help mama pick up, or get ready, daddy's coming and we're going to be ready for daddy. And always try to teach them respect, because they learn right off respect and responsibility from tiny little things. And you want them to grow up and be like that as grown adult citizens, and so they can love on their family. Yep. I just feel like that's what, and most of all, is that you got to teach them to love God. You got to say your little blessings with them. Get them used to fixing their little hands, and they're praising God and thanking Him for everything.
Yep, that's true. That's beautiful. Yep. You know, there's one of my favorite verses in the Bible is that one generation will tell of His works to the next generation. And so, like I think about that with my kids, and I tell them things that I feel like God has done for me or for them if I see it in their life as well. So is there anything that you want to share with us that you feel like God has really done for you over the years?
Well, I think that goes with my children, because I was so proud to have my children, and I feel like they're true gifts from God, and God blessed me with 3 very good children. Not bragging, it's just a fact. They're all three upstanding citizens. They love God. Uh, God's in their life. They know He's the most important of all. And I'm just so thankful. But that is your most important job, is loving each other. Mm-hmm. And if you have a little problem that somebody gets a myth with someone else within the family, fix it right up. I mean, it might take a little time, but fix it up. Don't let it go not unfixed. You got to love on each other and be there for each other. Although you may be in other states and miles away, you still can love on each other and keep in contact and just plan to be together all you can, because I mean, it's wonderful to have neighbors and friends and other family that you love, but your closest family, right, is the one. And be happy to do for others. Be volunteering to help do for others. Just simple things. Always be there, loving God, loving others. Yeah. That's what we do.
That's right. That's so true. And I'm just going to say, you might not have expected me to say this on here, but I'm going to say it anyway, because as your daughter, I have been privy to things, and I know how well you are about doing a lot of things behind the scenes. A lot of people don't know that you do. And you're an example, I believe, Mama, of loving God and loving others well around you. I've seen that in you for many, many years, and it's a joy to watch you do those things behind the scenes for people that you're not looking for anyone to reward you for that. And I love that about you. I think that's a beautiful way to be, a beautiful way to live, and a beautiful way to live out loving God and loving others. So I know you weren't expecting that, but I'm just going to say it because it's true, and maybe it will inspire others to think about how can they help and how can they serve. There is always somebody around us that has a need. And if we just simply look for that, and you do that well, looking for those needs that people have and being willing to step up and do them. I've seen you do that.
Yes, I just love to. I don't even think about it. I just think, oh yeah, I can do that. If I hear about something, mm-hmm. and I don't ever want to be paid back, or I don't even think about that part. I just love to do it. I've kind of been that way probably most all my life. It's just, I'm kind of a doer, I guess.
Yeah, you are. Mm-hmm.
If someone does stuff for me, I'm just, wow. I'm so thankful. But I don't ever expect it. But my goodness, I'm so blessed with what people do for me all the time.
Yeah.
But I do love to do for others.
Yeah, for sure. Now, this makes me think of something when you said that about not giving back, because I know another trait about you that some of our listeners may know, who know you may know this as well, but you are one of the most generous people that I know. And I know clearly I have been blessed by your generosity many times, starting from you gave me life, and I know my siblings feel that way as well. But I also know on other types of tangible way, you are the kind of person, Mama, that if you know of a need, and not just the serving type of a need, but just, for example, if we're standing around and someone's cold, you are going to be the first person to give your jacket away to the person that's cold. I don't even know. I started slowly gathering a collection of jackets in my closet, and I realized, you know what? These are all the times Mama's given me her jacket. I need to give them back. I was like, wow, that's pretty funny. And oh my goodness. And the same thing with, so many times I've said, oh, that's a really pretty shirt. Or next time I see you, it's probably going to be in a bag for me. And I know other people outside of our family have noticed this trait about you too. But I don't know if this is just something that you were raised that way. I know that at the beginning of your childhood, y'all had, there was times that you struggled. And maybe is that something that maybe caused you to be more generous because you see a need and you know how it feels to have a need. And so you want to fill it. But I don't know. I've just noticed that about you, and I appreciate that about you. And I know others do too. So it's kind of a fun thing to bring out in this setting and say, as an example to others. We should, right? We should look for ways to be generous and to be giving. And I think that you do a great example of that too.
Well, I love doing it. And I think that I don't feel like I had a real hardship when I was young. I was very blessed, and that I love both grandmamas. I got to live with one of them a lot, or right there, real close, like next door to her, and she took up lots of time. And and my daddy and mom, although they were divorced after I was about 8, they were friends with each other. They were not arch enemies, and I felt like we did. There were times like when my mother was trying to take care of things herself, and maybe my dad didn't get the uh, check to us or soon enough or whatever. And I remember that she would use money from her work as a hairdresser, and I'd run get us bread and eggs or whatever. And it was safe enough for me to walk to the store. But I mean, just things like that. But I never felt like I was a real needy person. I can even remember whenever we moved, and it was be so cold, and we did not have any like as warm a clothes as maybe. But I think really there were more people back years ago that really maybe did this. There were fewer wealthy, rich people, I should say, or those that had every single need. But I remember I had this wool jacket that I love that had pictures all over it that were, it was something that had come from, I think, Mexico, but whatever. But I remember my mama putting we didn't have sweatshirts for girls back then. We'd have a sweater on and stuff underneath that. And then I'd put that jacket on, but she would put things in the jacket there, like little tiny thin little blankets or something to make the sleeves warmer. And I would have to walk to school because we didn't have a car. It wasn't very far, and there was a bunch of other children walking. It wasn't like we weren't all walking together. And I remember those days. But believe me, I was warm enough, but you got there, you had, the warm classroom. But I remember doing that 2 or 3 different years. And yeah, but my mom was taking care of that. Get on that long sleeve flannel shirt and stuff it with things that make it warm. I don't know if I ever told you that.
I don't
Stephanie,
remember hearing that, but maybe that's something that you are doing as far as like when you see somebody cold, you're trying to fix it for them too. Maybe that's a part
yeah.
of that. But you are very generous. I mean, literally give the shirt off your back to people. And I sometimes will say, okay, I better not compliment that because I know that she's going to give it to me and she might need that shirt. It looks good on her.
Well, I might not. And then I remember something I did a couple of different times. My other granny, so I lived with my Granny Marsh, my daddy's mom, right there beside her, and actually in the house a little while. And we had needs there and stuff there, And, uh, but I would be with my little Granny Keen at the church, Mama's mama, and I remember, she was blind, had been blind since she was much younger, and but she'd be at church and be so cold, and she would not have gloves on her hand. And I can remember just wanting to give her my gloves because, I was big enough. She was tiny. But I mean, I remember giving her my gloves, and I'm not saying it to say, oh, I did this, or I did this. But I mean, I remember doing that because I thought, I don't need my gloves. I can keep my hands in my pocket, and she needs them. And but her just smiling, but she was totally blind, and she had gloves maybe at home, but maybe couldn't find them or whatever.
Right.
But I mean, just little things like that I just love to do. I don't think about it. I mean, there's a lot of people that love to do that too.
Yeah, there are.
I think some people maybe hold back or hesitate, but I guess I'm kind of pushy, and I just reach out and say, "Hey, you want this one? You can have this one."
But but it's a good kind of pushy. I mean, it is. It's very thoughtful, and I think you do a good job of thinking of others when you do that. And like we said at the beginning, going back to loving God and loving others, that's definitely being some example of His hands and feet, taking care of people. So, well, I thought that this would be something kind of fun to do because, it's a popular saying right now to say, so what do you want to do when you're 80? Or who do you want to be when you're 80? And I just thought this would be a fun way to commemorate your 80th year and be able to kind of share some little tips and some wisdom, some little memories, some fun things about you with my audience, and be able to just kind of say, well, here we are in our 80th year and going strong. And I love you, and I appreciate you coming on here to share a little bit with us today.
Thank you.
Well, now let me ask you this before we go. Do you have a favorite Bible verse you want to share with us?
My goodness. I surely do love that, loving God, loving others, and it's really one of our commandments to believe.
It is. Taking the commandments and making them into 2 commandments. That's right. Now let me ask you one more thing. If you had one more thing to share with us, anything at all, what would it be? Your message to the world, what would it be?
Oh my God. Well, I think we need to love and respect. Love and respect
Mm,
our family. Love. It all starts with loving God and letting Him be part of you,
yeah.
and loving your family, what God has given you.
Yes.
And if there's a problem, all of you try to help in your own way. Loving everybody, like it says, love others and help. I mean, we need to all work together always. And you might not be your best friend, your next door neighbor, but there's always kind little things you can do or see about and just let it go. And just be kind and nice to people, love on people.
Yep. That's very good advice. I agree with you. Well, thank you.
You're welcome, precious. I'm so gifted with my precious children.